I'm 24 years old, and my own family just seated me at the kids' table next to my 8-year-old cousin. What started as an elegant dinner party quickly became the most humiliating night of my life. I thought I was finally going to be treated like the adult I am, but instead, I discovered they'd been lying to me for months, using me as their personal ATM while planning to exclude me from something that should have been mine by right. So I walked out, but not before I sent a single message that made every phone in that dining room explode with notifications. What happened next turned their perfect evening into absolute chaos, and by morning, everything had changed forever. But before we continue, check if you're already subscribed to the channel and write in the comments. Where are you watching this video from? The ivory invitation arrives on a Tuesday afternoon, its gold embossed lettering catching the light as I turn it over in my hands. The Miller Family Annual Gala, it reads, followed by elegant script announcing this year's theme, celebrating our legacy. My heart does a little skip. Finally. After 3 years of being too busy with college, or not quite ready for such formal events, I'm being included in the family's most prestigious gathering. I've heard whispers about these dinners my entire life. Aunt Margaret hosting at her mansion in Beacon Hill, the finest caterers, politicians, and business executives mingling with our extended family. My older cousins always returned with stories of networking opportunities and business deals discussed over 7-course meals. Now, at 24, with my marketing degree fresh in hand and 6 months into my first real job, I'm apparently worthy of a seat at the table. The invitation specifies black tie optional, which in Miller family language means black tie required. I spend my first paycheck on a stunning navy dress from Nordstrom, the kind that makes you stand taller when you put it on. The sales associate assures me it's perfect for important family functions, and I imagine myself finally being seen as an adult, contributing to conversations about business strategy and family investments. My mother calls that evening, her voice unusually bright. "Did you get Aunt Margaret's invitation, sweetheart?" There's something in her tone I can't quite place, an excitement that seems forced. "We're all so proud of you, Mia. It's time you took your place in the family." The words warm me more than they should. Growing up, I always felt like I was on the periphery of the Miller family dynamics. My father died when I was 12. Leaving my mother and me in a modest duplex while the rest of the family lived in sprawling suburban estates. We weren't poor, but we weren't wealthy either. Every family gathering reminded me of the gap between my life and theirs. But now, with my college degree and my job at Peterson Marketing, maybe that gap is finally closing. Maybe they're ready to see me as more than just poor Susan's daughter and recognize me as a capable adult with something to contribute. The thought carries me through the week as I plan my outfit, practice conversation starters, and research recent business trends so I'll have intelligent things to say. Saturday morning arrives, crisp and bright. I book an appointment at a salon in the city, splurging on hair and makeup that costs more than my weekly grocery budget. The stylist creates an elegant updo that makes me feel sophisticated, professional. Looking in the mirror, I see the woman I've always wanted to be: confident, polished, ready to take her place in the world. The drive to Beacon Hill takes 45 minutes, giving me time to rehearse. I've prepared talking points about digital marketing trends, stories about successful campaigns I've worked on, and thoughtful questions about the family's various business ventures. My portfolio sits in the back seat, just in case someone shows interest in my work. Today feels like a beginning, like everything is about to change. Aunt Margaret's mansion stands like something from a movie, its federal-style architecture perfect against the backdrop of autumn leaves. Valets take keys from arriving guests, and I watch my cousins emerge from luxury cars in designer gowns and tailored suits. For a moment, doubt creeps in. My dress, which seemed so elegant in the store, suddenly feels modest compared to what I'm seeing. But then Cousin James spots me and waves enthusiastically. "Mia? You made it." His genuine warmth dissolves my insecurity. James has always been kind, even when others in the family seem to forget I existed. He introduces me to his wife Sarah, who compliments my dress and asks about my new job with apparent interest. Inside, the mansion is even more impressive. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over Persian rugs and oil paintings that probably cost more than my car. Staff members in crisp uniforms offer champagne and canapes, while guests mingle in the drawing room. I accept a glass of champagne, Feeling sophisticated as I sip and survey the scene, Uncle Richard approaches with his usual booming voice. Mia, look at you. All grown up and professional. He claps me on the shoulder with genuine pride. Your mother tells me you're doing marketing work now. That's exactly what this family needs. Someone who understands the modern world. His words fuel my confidence, and I find myself relaxing into the evening ahead. The conversations flow easily. I discuss social media strategies with cousin Elena, share insights about millennial consumer behavior with Uncle Tom, and even make Aunt Patricia laugh with a story about a recent campaign mishap. For the first time in years, I feel like I truly belong here. Ladies and gentlemen, dinner is served. The formal announcement draws everyone toward the dining room, and my excitement reaches its peak. This is it, the moment I take my place among the adults of my family, treated as an equal participant in our shared legacy. The dining room takes my breath away. A massive mahogany table stretches beneath another crystal chandelier, set with fine china and gleaming silverware. Place cards and elegant calligraphy mark each seat, and I scan the table eagerly to find my name. Uncle Richard will be at the head, of course, with Aunt Margaret at the foot. The prime seats along the sides will go to the most senior family members and their spouses. I walk the perimeter slowly, reading each card. Uncle Tom, Aunt Patricia, Cousin James and Sarah, Cousin Elena, and her husband David. My anticipation builds as I continue around the table. Surely my card will be among these central seats, acknowledgement of my new adult status in the family. But my name isn't there. Confusion sets in as I complete a full circuit of the main table without finding my place. Maybe there's been a mistake. I check again, more carefully this time, but the result is the same. 24 place cards, none bearing my name. Looking for your seat, sweetheart. Aunt Margaret appears beside me, her smile bright but somehow not reaching her eyes. Oh, didn't anyone tell you? We've set up a lovely children's table in the sunroom. Much more fun for the younger crowd. The words hit me like ice water. Children's table. At 24, with a college degree and a professional job, I follow her gesture toward a smaller room off the main dining area, where I see a round table set with simpler place settings. And there, surrounded by my young cousins ranging in age from 6 to 14, is a place card with my name. My cheeks burn with humiliation. 8-year-old Tommy grins and waves at me from his seat, excited to have big cousin Mia join them. 12-year-old Sophie looks embarrassed on my behalf, clearly understanding the insult even at her age. The teenagers at the table, 13-year-old Marcus and 14-year-old Lily, exchange uncomfortable glances. I think there's been a mistake, I say to Aunt Margaret, keeping my voice level despite the storm building inside me. I'm 24 years old. I work full-time. I don't belong at the children's table. Her smile falters slightly. Oh, Mia, don't be dramatic. It's just dinner arrangements. The main table was getting quite crowded, and we thought you'd enjoy spending time with the younger generation. You've always been so good with children. The condescension in Aunt Margaret's voice cuts deeper than the seating arrangement itself. Around us, other family members pretend not to notice the exchange, but I can feel their awareness like heat radiating from a fire. Some look uncomfortable. Others seem almost satisfied by my relegation to the kids' table. Besides, Aunt Margaret continues, her voice taking on that particular tone adults use when explaining things to children. There's going to be a lot of business talk tonight. Boring adult stuff about investments and family planning. Nothing that would interest you yet. As if I'm still a child waiting to grow up, despite my degree, my job, my 24 years of life experience. I glance toward the main table where my contemporaries James and Elena sit with their spouses, clearly not finding the business discussion too advanced for their understanding. I have a marketing degree, I say quietly, one last attempt to salvage my dignity. I work in business. This is exactly the kind of conversation I should be part of. Aunt Margaret's expression shifts slightly, impatience flickering behind her social smile. Mia, dear, we've already arranged everything. The children are so excited to have you with them, and frankly, the main table discussions tonight are quite sensitive. Family business. You understand. When you're more established in your own career, of course you'll have a seat with the adults. The dismissal is complete and devastating. I'm not just being excluded from dinner conversation, I'm being told I'm not established enough, not successful enough, not worthy enough to participate in family business discussions. The message is clear. Despite everything I've accomplished, I'm still just poor Susan's daughter, charity case, perpetual child. My mother appears at my elbow, having witnessed the entire exchange. I expect her to defend me, to point out the absurdity of seating her adult daughter with elementary school children. Instead, she places a gentle hand on my arm and says, "Come on, sweetie. Let's just make the best of it. The children will love having you there." The betrayal is complete. Even my own mother won't advocate for my rightful place at the adult table. She's accepting this humiliation on my behalf, asking me to smile and pretend it's fine. The realization that she's complicit in this arrangement, that she likely knew about it beforehand and said nothing, makes my chest tight with anger and hurt. I look around the room one more time, taking in the faces of my extended family. Some avoid my gaze entirely. Others watch with expressions ranging from pity to satisfaction. No one, not a single person, speaks up to suggest that maybe seating a college graduate with elementary school children might be inappropriate. I take my seat at the children's table with as much grace as I can muster, but inside I'm falling apart. The chair feels like a throne of shame, positioned perfectly so the adults can see me relegated to my proper place among the family hierarchy. Tommy immediately starts telling me about his Pokemon cards, oblivious to the charged atmosphere around us. The teenagers at the table, however, understand exactly what's happening. Marcus, 13 and surprisingly perceptive, leans over and whispers, "This is really messed up. Mia, you shouldn't be here." His words, meant kindly, somehow make it worse. Even the children recognize the insult. From my position, I have a perfect view of the main table where the real adults are settling into their seats. The conversation begins immediately, and despite Aunt Margaret's claims about boring business talk, I can hear fragments that make my blood pressure rise. They're discussing the family investment portfolio, vacation property decisions, and something about distributing grandfather's inheritance among the established family members. Uncle Richard raises his wineglass for a toast to the Miller family legacy and to those who carry it forward into the next generation. His eyes sweep the main table, acknowledging each adult present. His gaze passes over the children's table without pause, as if we're furniture rather than family members. The adults drink to their toast while I sit with a juice box, the only beverage option provided at our table. The symbolism is so heavy-handed, it would be funny if it weren't happening to me. I'm watching my own family celebrate their legacy while actively excluding me from participating in it. But it's the conversation that follows that truly breaks something inside me. Cousin Elena starts discussing her new marketing position at a tech startup, the same type of work I do. The adults listen attentively, asking thoughtful questions about her strategies and offering connections that could advance her career. Her degree is from the same university as mine. Her job experience is actually less extensive than mine. The only difference between us is that her parents remained wealthy after their divorce. Marketing is such a crucial field now, Uncle Tom says, nodding approvingly at Elena. Understanding digital trends, social media engagement, it's exactly what our family businesses need to stay competitive. I grip my juice box so tightly, the cardboard crumples. These are literally the exact talking points I'd prepared to discuss tonight. The expertise I'd hoped to contribute to family business decisions is being celebrated and sought out, just not from me. The adult table wants marketing insights, they just don't want them from the person sitting with the children. That's when I notice something else. While the adults discuss serious family business, they're also making decisions that directly affect my future. I catch fragments about updating the family trust, allocating grandfather's estate, and planning next year's family ventures. Decisions that will impact my inheritance, my opportunities, my place in the family structure, being made without my input or even my awareness. As the dinner progresses, the children's table conversation becomes increasingly difficult to maintain. Tommy has moved on from Pokemon to detailed descriptions of his favorite YouTube videos, while Sophie keeps shooting me sympathetic looks that make me want to crawl under the table. The teenagers have given up entirely on including me in their discussions about high school drama. Recognizing that I'm trapped in some adult conflict they don't fully understand. But it's their whispered conversation that catches my attention. Marcus and Lily are discussing something they overheard their parents talking about earlier. And suddenly, I'm listening, with laser focus. Mom said they're finally going to tell everyone about the trust fund changes tonight. Marcus whispers to Lily, glancing toward the adult table. Something about grandfather's will being updated to only include people who are financially stable and contributing to family success. Lily nods knowingly. Dad mentioned that too. He said some people have been getting money from the family for years, without earning it. She pauses, then adds with uncomfortable awareness, I think they mean people like Aunt Susan and Mia. The words hit me like a physical blow. My grandfather's trust fund, which I'd always assumed would provide some financial security for my future, is being restructured to exclude me. And from the sound of it, the decision has already been made. This dinner, this humiliating seating arrangement, isn't just about treating me like a child. It's about excluding me from discussions that will determine my financial future. I think about my mother's words over the past few months. How she's been encouraging me to be patient with the family, to keep showing them respect, even when I felt marginalized. Had she known this was coming? Had she been trying to keep me compliant while they planned to cut me out of my inheritance entirely? The realization that I've been played, that months of being the dutiful daughter and grateful niece were just keeping me quiet while they arranged my exclusion, makes my hands shake with rage. I've been attending family events, sending thank you notes, playing the grateful poor relation while they've been planning to remove me from the family's financial future entirely. From the adult table, I hear Uncle Richard's voice rising slightly as he begins what sounds like a formal announcement. Now that we're all together, Margaret and I wanted to discuss some important family business. Changes to grandfather's estate distribution that will take effect next year. This is Italiano. They're about to announce my exclusion while I sit at the children's table, unable to participate in or even officially hear the discussion that will determine my financial future. The insult is so calculated, so deliberately cruel, that it takes my breath away. I excuse myself from the children's table, mumbling something about needing the restroom. The teenagers nod understandingly, clearly recognizing that I need to escape the humiliation for a moment. As I walk past the main table, I catch more fragments of Uncle Richard's announcement about restructuring to reward family members who have proven their independence and business acumen. In the hallway bathroom, I stare at my reflection in the ornate mirror. My carefully styled hair and professional makeup look back at me. The image of someone who should be taken seriously, treated with respect. But tonight has made it clear that no amount of education, professional success, or personal growth will change how this family sees me. I will always be the charity case, the one who needs to be grateful for whatever scraps they choose to throw my way. That's when inspiration strikes. If they want to treat me like I'm invisible, like my opinions and feelings don't matter, then I'll show them exactly what happens when they push someone too far. I pull out my phone and open my contacts, scrolling through the list of family members present tonight. Every single one of them is in my phone, collected over years of family gatherings and holiday celebrations. But more importantly, I have something they don't know about. Last month, when Cousin James was having trouble with his social media marketing, he asked me to help him set up automated messaging systems for his business. In the process, he shared access to the family group chat that all the adults use for coordinating family events and business discussions. The same group chat I was never invited to join officially, but which I can now access through James's shared login. I've never used this access, never even looked at their private family discussions. It felt wrong to spy on conversations I wasn't meant to see. But tonight, after being deliberately excluded from decisions about my own future, my ethical concerns have evaporated entirely. I log into the family group chat and scroll through recent messages. What I find makes my anger crystallize into something cold and focused. They've been planning tonight for weeks. Messages about how to handle the Mia situation, discussions about whether I should be told about the trust fund changes beforehand or just let it happen naturally. The most devastating message is from my own mother. I think it's better if Mia doesn't know about the inheritance changes until after they're finalized. She might get emotional and cause a scene. The children's table will keep her occupied during the business discussion, my Owen motor, planning my humiliation, actively participating in my exclusion. The betrayal runs so deep, I feel physically sick. But beneath the hurt, a different emotion is building. Determination. They want to play games. I'll show them what happens when they underestimate someone they've written off as irrelevant. I take a deep breath and begin typing. If they want to conduct family business in secret, they're about to learn that secrets work both ways. I craft my message carefully, making sure every word lands with maximum impact. Hi everyone. I know I'm not officially part of this group chat, but James gave me access last month when I helped him with his marketing automation. I've been respectfully staying out of your private conversations, but since I'm currently sitting at the children's table while you discuss restructuring my inheritance, I thought I should contribute to the discussion. I pause, considering my next words carefully. They need to understand exactly what they've done and why it's unacceptable. Just so we're all clear, I'm 24 years old with a college degree and a full-time job. I'm currently seated next to 8-year-old Tommy, discussing Pokemon, while you make financial decisions that affect my future. The optics of this are ... interesting. I'm sure everyone here can see how this looks, but I'm not done. If they want to exclude me from family business, they should know exactly what that exclusion costs. Since I'm apparently not established enough to participate in adult conversations, I assume I'm also not established enough to continue helping with family expenses. James, I'll send you instructions for managing your social media accounts yourself. Elena, you'll need to find a new marketing consultant for your startup launch. Uncle Tom, I'll be removing myself from your company's advisory board tomorrow. The list continues as I detail every way I've been contributing to family business success over the past year. All the ways I've been helping that they've apparently forgotten about or dismissed as unimportant. And Mother, since you helped plan tonight's seating arrangement, I assume you have other plans for next month's rent assistance. I'll be redirecting that money toward my own financial establishment instead. I read through the message once more, making sure the tone is professional but unmistakably clear. Then I add the final paragraph that will turn their elegant dinner into chaos. I'm leaving now, but please continue your discussion about my inheritance while I'm gone. I'm sure the decision-making process will be just as fair and transparent as tonight's seating arrangements have been. Enjoy the rest of your evening. So I'll be posting this conversation on social media later, since apparently family transparency isn't a priority here. My finger hovers over the send button for just a moment. Once I press this, there's no going back. My relationship with this family will never be the same. But then I think about sitting at that children's table, watching them toast to a legacy they're actively excluding me from, and I press send. I don't wait to see their immediate reactions. I slip back into the dining room, collect my purse from the children's table, with a quiet emergency at home excuse to the kids, and head toward the exit. But I don't leave immediately. Instead, I position myself in the hallway where I can observe the dining room through the partially open doorway. It takes less than 30 seconds for the first phone to buzz. Uncle Richard reaches for his device with mild irritation, clearly annoyed by the interruption to his formal announcement. But as he reads the message, his expression changes completely. The color drains from his face, and he looks up with wide eyes, scanning the room until his gaze lands on the children's table. The notification sound spreads like a wave across the main table. Phone after phone lights up as family members receive my message. The elegant dinner party atmosphere disintegrates in real time as shocked faces turn toward screens, then toward each other, then toward the children's table where my empty seat sits like an accusation. Aunt Marguerite's voice cuts through the sudden silence. Where is Mia? The question carries a note of panic that wasn't there during her condescending explanation of the seating arrangements. My mother stands abruptly, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. She said something about an emergency, ... But her voice trails off as she reads my message, and I watch her face crumple with the realization of how thoroughly she's been exposed. The adult table erupts in heated whispers. Cousin James looks mortified as he realizes his shared login gave me access to their private conversations. Elena keeps refreshing her phone as if the message might change or disappear. Uncle Tom has gone completely silent, staring at his screen with what looks like genuine remorse. But it's Uncle Richard's reaction that satisfies me most. The man who just minutes ago was toasting to family legacy while excluding me from it now looks like he's witnessing the collapse of everything he's tried to control. He keeps looking between his phone and my empty chair, finally understanding that the child he relegated to the kids' table has just outmaneuvered him completely. Did she really say she's posting this on social media? Aunt Patricia whispers, loud enough for me to hear from the hallway. The horror in her voice is unmistakable. These people care more about their public image than they ever cared about treating me fairly. That's when I realized my threat about social media was more powerful than I'd intended. They're not just upset about being called out privately, they're terrified of public exposure. Their elegant family image, their reputation in the community, their business relationships, all of it could be damaged by the story of how they treated a family member. I watched them for another moment. These people who thought they could manipulate and exclude me without consequences. Then I walked quietly to the front door and let myself out into the cool evening air. My phone starts ringing before I even reach my car. The first call comes from my mother, which I decline immediately. Then James, Elena, and Uncle Richard in rapid succession. I silence the device and drive away from Beacon Hill with a strange sense of calm settling over me. The hardest part is done. I've spoken my truth, exposed their manipulation, and walked away on my own terms. By the time I reach my apartment, 20 minutes later, I have 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The family group chat I am not supposed to have access to is exploding with damage control discussions. Uncle Richard is demanding that James revoke my access immediately. Aunt Margaret is insisting that I've misunderstood the evening's arrangements. Several family members are suggesting they need to manage this situation before it goes any further. But the most revealing messages come from family members who weren't at dinner tonight. Apparently, word of my message has spread beyond the immediate group, and relatives are starting to ask questions about what exactly happened at the family gala. Uncle Richard's attempts to control the narrative are failing as more people learn about the children's table incident. I pour myself a glass of wine and settle onto my couch to read through the chaos I've created. The messages reveal more than they probably intended about the family's true dynamics. Several people expressed genuine remorse, admitting they knew the seating arrangement was inappropriate but were too uncomfortable to speak up. Others are more concerned about the potential social media exposure than about the underlying treatment that caused my reaction. My mother's messages are the most painful to read. She's cycling between apologies, excuses, and attempts to minimize what happened. It was just dinner seating. Honey, you're being too sensitive. This is going to damage your relationship with the whole family. She still doesn't understand that the relationship was already damaged. That tonight was just the moment I stopped pretending otherwise. But there are surprises too. Marcus, the 13-year-old from the children's table, has somehow gotten my number and sent a simple message. That was awesome. They deserved it. Even some of the teenagers understand justice better than the adults in my family. The most unexpected message comes from cousin James. Mia, I am so sorry. I knew the seating was wrong, and I should have said something. Your message made me realize how we've all been complicit in something really unfair. Can we talk? As I read through the digital chaos, I realize I've accomplished something beyond just expressing my anger. I've forced them to confront their own behavior, to see themselves through the eyes of someone they hurt. Some of them clearly don't like what they're seeing. Over the next few days, the fallout continues to spread in ways I never anticipated. My threat about posting on social media was meant as a warning shot, but I discover I don't need to follow through. The family is doing the work for me, as their panicked attempts at damage control only draw more attention to what happened. Aunt Margaret calls several family friends to clarify any misunderstandings about the dinner party, but her explanations only raise more questions. Word spreads through their social circle that something embarrassing happened at the Miller family gala, and speculation fills the gaps where facts are missing. The story becomes more scandalous with each retelling. Uncle Richard attempts to schedule a family meeting to address the situation, but his heavy-handed approach backfires spectacularly. His email, demanding my attendance to discuss your inappropriate behavior, gets forwarded to family members who weren't even at the dinner. Soothingly, relatives across the country are asking what inappropriate behavior he's referring to and why a family meeting is needed. The inheritance restructuring that was supposed to be quietly announced at dinner is now stalled completely. Several family members are demanding full transparency about the changes before they support anything. The trust fund modifications that were meant to exclude me have become a contentious family issue that threatens to tear apart the very legacy Uncle Richard was trying to protect. My mother finally calls with what sounds like genuine remorse. Mia, I need to apologize. Really, apologize. I was so worried about keeping peace with the family that I lost sight of what was right. The children's table was wrong, and I was wrong to go along with it. Her words mean something, but they don't undo the betrayal. She still chose their approval over my dignity, when it mattered most. Forgiveness will take time, if it comes at all. The most surprising development comes from an unexpected source. Elena reaches out with a business proposition. Her startup needs a marketing consultant, and after seeing how I handled the family crisis, she's convinced I'm exactly the type of strategic thinker her company needs. Anyone who can orchestrate that kind of communication strategy, she says, is someone I want on my team. The irony isn't lost on me. The family dismissed my professional capabilities while relegating me to the children's table, but my response to that treatment demonstrated exactly the kind of business skills they claimed I lacked. I've gone from being too inexperienced for adult dinner conversation to being sought out for my strategic thinking, all in the span of a week. Other opportunities emerge as word spreads about my situation. James's business partner, who heard about the incident through family connections, offers me a freelance marketing contract. 2 other family friends reach out with projects after learning about my background and my impressive handling of a difficult family situation. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in a coffee shop near downtown when Aunt Margaret calls. Her voice lacks its usual commanding tone, replaced by something that sounds almost vulnerable. Mia, could we meet? I think we need to talk. She arrives looking older than I remember, her usually perfect composure slightly frayed around the edges. The social fallout from the dinner party has been harder on her than I expected. Hosting elegant family gatherings was her signature role, and the whispers about what went wrong at this year's gala have damaged her reputation as the family's social coordinator. I owe you an apology. She begins without preamble. The children's table was inappropriate, and the way we handled the inheritance discussion was worse. I've been thinking about that night constantly, and I keep coming back to how I would have felt in your position. Her admission catches me off guard. I'd expected defensiveness or attempts to minimize what happened, not this kind of direct acknowledgement. Why did you do it? I ask. You knew it was wrong. She's quiet for a long moment, stirring her coffee absently. Control, I suppose. Your father's death left your mother in a difficult financial position, and over the years, the family developed this pattern of seeing you both as people who needed our help rather than people who could contribute. It became easier to maintain that dynamic than to acknowledge how much you'd grown and changed. The honesty is refreshing, even if it's painful. The inheritance changes weren't really about financial stability, were they? No, she admits. They were about maintaining the existing power structure. You were becoming too independent, too successful. If you had a significant inheritance, you wouldn't need the family's approval or financial support anymore. Some people found that, threatening. The confession reveals the true scope of what I was fighting against. This wasn't just about dinner seating or even money. It was about family members who needed to keep me dependent in order to feel powerful themselves. My growing success threatened their ability to control me, so they tried to cut off my financial independence before I could escape their influence entirely. What happens now? I ask. The inheritance restructuring has been scrapped entirely, she says. Too many people have questions, and the family trust lawyers are recommending we maintain the original terms to avoid legal complications. Your grandfather's will remains unchanged. It's a victory I never expected. My dramatic exit didn't just expose their manipulation, it actually prevented them from following through with it. By making their secretive plan public within the family, I forced them to abandon it entirely. But Margaret isn't finished. There's something else. We're restructuring the family business board, adding seats for the next generation. Elena suggested you should be considered for one of the positions. 6 months later, I'm preparing for my first official family board meeting. The conference room at Miller Holdings overlooks the harbor, and my nameplate sits at the polished table alongside those of my cousins and aunts and uncles. The symbolism isn't lost on anyone. This time, my seat is exactly where it should be. The business I've built in the aftermath of that disastrous dinner has exceeded my wildest expectations. Elena's startup contract led to 3 more clients. And word of mouth about my strategic approach has created a waiting list of companies wanting to work with me. I've hired 2 part-time employees and moved into an office space that reflects my growing success. But the real change isn't professional, it's personal. My relationship with my family has fundamentally shifted from one of dependence to one of mutual respect. They can no longer dismiss my opinions or exclude me from important conversations because I've proven my worth in terms they understand: business success and financial independence. My mother and I have rebuilt our relationship slowly. She's in therapy now, working through her own patterns of seeking approval from her deceased husband's family at the expense of her daughter's dignity. Our conversations are more honest than they've ever been, and she's become my strongest advocate within the family structure. Some relationships remain strained. Uncle Richard speaks to me cordially at family functions, but clearly resents the power shift that resulted from that night. Aunt Patricia still seems uncomfortable around me, as if she's waiting for me to exact some further revenge. They're not wrong to be wary. I've learned what I'm capable of when pushed too far, and so have they. The children's table incident has become family legend, referenced in conversations about treating people fairly and respecting individual dignity. The teenagers who witnessed it have grown into young adults who speak up more confidently when they see unfair treatment. In an unexpected way, my dramatic exit created positive change beyond just my own situation. Today's board meeting focuses on expanding the family's digital marketing capabilities across all business ventures. As the designated expert in this area, I'm presenting a comprehensive strategy that could increase overall family business revenue by 30% over the next 3 years. The same expertise they once dismissed as irrelevant is now central to their future success. As I review my presentation materials, I think about that night at Aunt Margaret's mansion. The humiliation of being seated with children while adults discussed my future still stings. But it also marked the moment I stopped accepting less than I deserved. The 24-year-old woman who walked out of that dinner party was angry and hurt, but she was also discovering her own power. The woman sitting in this boardroom 6 months later knows exactly what she's worth and refuses to let anyone forget it again. Uncle Richard enters the conference room and nods politely in my direction. "Mia, I understand you have some interesting proposals for our digital expansion." "I do," I reply, meeting his gaze steadily. "I think you'll find my recommendations quite, comprehensive." There's a moment of understanding between us, an acknowledgement of how completely the dynamic has shifted. He needs what I can provide now, and we both know it. The power imbalance that once allowed him to dismiss me has been permanently corrected. As other family members file into the room, taking their seats around the table, I think about that group message I sent from Aunt Margaret's hallway. 47 words that changed everything. The revelation of their manipulation, the exposure of their private conversations, the threat that made them panic and ultimately forced them to confront their own behavior. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't dramatic confrontation or elaborate schemes. Sometimes it's simply refusing to accept the role others have assigned you, and demonstrating your worth so clearly that they have no choice but to acknowledge it. My phone buzzes with a text from Marcus, now 14 and starting high school. "Good luck at your board meeting today. Thanks for showing me what it looks like when someone stands up for themselves." I smile as I tuck my phone away. The evening that began with me being treated like a child ended with me inspiring the actual children in my family to expect better for themselves. The ripple effects of that single moment of defiance continued to spread in ways I never anticipated. The meeting begins, and I stand to present my marketing strategy to the Miller family board of directors. Not as the grateful poor relation or the child who should be seen and not heard, but as a successful business owner whose expertise is essential to their continued prosperity. As I begin my presentation, I catch sight of my reflection in the conference room windows, professional and confident against the backdrop of the harbor. This is what 24 looks like when you refuse to accept anything less than the respect you've earned. The revenge I got wasn't just about that one humiliating evening. It was about permanently changing how my family sees me, how they treat me, and most importantly, how I see myself. They tried to keep me small, dependent, grateful for scraps. Instead, they pushed me to become exactly the strong, independent woman they were afraid I might become. And now, as I look around this boardroom table at family members who hang on my every word about digital strategy and market expansion, I realize the best revenge truly is living well. They wanted to exclude me from their legacy. Instead, I've become essential to it. The presentation ends to enthusiastic approval and immediate requests for implementation timeline. As family members approach me afterward with additional project ideas and collaboration proposals, I think about how far I've traveled from that children's table in Beacon Hill. Sometimes, you have to walk out of where you're not valued to find where you belong. And sometimes, if you're lucky, walking out forces the people who undervalued you to realize what they almost lost. 6 months ago, they sat me at the kids' table and thought they could dismiss my worth. Today, I'm the one making decisions about their financial future. That's what I call perfect revenge.